The film opens up on a sloping street in China, where a woman is requesting a lift. Maybe her vehicle is stalled. A truck driver enthusiastically offers to help. Be that as it may, the lady overlooks him, believing he's a deviant in practically no time. After a fair-looking man shows up in a vehicle and the lady rapidly gets in, however, unfortunately, her choice ends up being deadly, as she tracks down a ravaged human hand close to her seat. This demonstrates that the honest-looking man is really a chronic executioner. The extremely 1 minute from now, he stops his vehicle, gets a wrench and cudgels the lady to death. A couple of days after the fact, a public transport, containing a few travelers, is going through a similar street. Wang, a protection specialist, is keeping the driver Tony engaged by enlightening him concerning how a lady disappeared a few days prior in this very spot. In the interim, a declaration on the radio instructs everybody that there has been a serious mishap in a nearby intersection, in view of which all streets are hindered. One of the travelers, Lee, notices that he needs to arrive at his specific employment on time. So the driver Tony proposed they take a tour through a rough terrain. No one items to the choice. Furthermore, the destined excursion starts en route. They enter a dim passage, which Tony uncovers he has never go over regardless. He keeps driving, however, out of nowhere a baffling man comes in the manner, compelling the transport to an end. Everybody is scared with respect to what he's doing in Obscurity Borough. However, the man ends up being a passenger and he too gets on the transport. Lee, who is perusing a newspaper, finds out that the baffling man is a needed lawbreaker, so he secretly takes out a blade for security. There are two ladies on the transport, Sarah, a trying A model, and a Jing, a pregnant woman. With respect to kids, a couple of twin kin Park and Tooth are available. The sibling Tooth appears to be medically introverted. Yet, his sister is generally there to take care of him. Following 20 minutes of driving, the transport is still inside the passage. So Tony fire thinking something's happening. He realizes that the longest passage in the nation is only 11 kilometers long, which requires around 10 minutes to cross. Consequently, the gathering chooses to pivot and head back the manner in which they came from. However, shockingly, even following 30 minutes of going at maximum speed, the entry not appear. It's an interminable dim passage which gives no indications of some other living life forms. Terrified, the driver, Tony, stops the transport and everybody gets out to review. Oddly, the pregnant woman Jiang finds her cell phone, which she had coincidentally dropped about an hour sooner, close to the entry. This demonstrates that the passage is definitely not a common one. At the point when everybody begins overreacting, Lee assumes responsibility for the circumstance and advises everybody to quiet down. He likewise chooses to stroll by walking for a couple of hours, to track down help, yet since it's extremely simple to lose all sense of direction in the passage, he needs to take a long rope for better route. Lee will convey one finish of the rope and strolling, while the opposite end will be held by the protection fellow Wang. Fortunately, as far as he might be concerned, the pregnant woman has a lot of weaving fleece with her. This is whenever I've first at any point seen sewing. Proved to be useful as a side interest before he departs. The mysterious man who halted the transport before, additionally, communicates his longing to go along with him, and Lee hesitantly concurs en route that to present one another. Also, the man's name is uncovered to be Chan. Nonetheless, he doesn't discuss his work or family. Sooner or later it begins getting hazy and the close to the transport, see two figures moving toward them from the opposite end. Frightened, they prepare to confront whatever defies them. However, incredibly, the sorts end up being none other than Lin Chen. Some way or another they have again wound up at ground zero, the spot from where they took off. It gets considerably more peculiar here, as Wang is as yet holding one finish of the rope. He encounters an unexpected pull when she unpulls it from the opposite end, in spite of them being neighboring one another. The passage is straight, yet it drives individuals to a similar spot over and over, similar to an interminable circle. Whoop. We said the title. Understanding that they have been caught, Lee recommends everybody accumulate their food things and proportion them admirably. Then, at that point, every one of the 4 men head out to examine the spot, while the 3 women and the imaginative Tooth rest inside the transport. It's been just 30 minutes, however, when Jing awakens, she figures out that the whole transport is canvassed in dust. Shocked, she awakens everybody and rapidly surges outside simultaneously. The men likewise show up and find the boss in a dilapidated condition. Tony quickly goes to beware of the food, however finds that everything has become spoiled. This demonstrates that not exclusively is the tunnel unless, however, time additionally moves contrastingly here. A solitary hour of the rest of the world equivalents 7 days here. When they get once again to the transport, a guide of the whole passage is hanging tight for them. It appears as though somebody dropped it off and left without a trace. Lee reasons that somebody is playing with them and quickly responds to the call. He puts the guide on A-table and begins dissecting the spot. All of a sudden the lights out of the blue go out. Furthermore, when they return on, Lee has evaporated. All things considered, a ridiculous path is seen which the group tediously fall. Close now. With Lee kidnapped or potentially killed, the mysterious house assumes responsibility for the gathering. The horrendous path drives them to a wall, which has all the earmarks of being radiance on breaking it. They run over an odd room, which has a great deal of needed pictures, a bunch of cut-off hands. Also, in particular, a designing chart of the spot. It shows that there are 6 separate passages in total, with one prompting another. She finished involves that to escape, they need to cross each of the 6 passages. He likewise expects that this mystery room will have an entry that will prompt the second passage as they keep looking through the room. They find a weird schedule with every one of the dates showing July 15th 11 and understands that it's a clue. What's more, when he removes the schedule from the wall, a mystery wooden entryway is uncovered after everybody leaves. The TV in the room begins showing a woman who has been caught inside a little cavern. Then, the gathering enters the subsequent passage, which unusually likewise has their transport stopped at precisely the same spot. They keep thinking about whether they have shown up at ground zero, however, after checking understand that the passage is precisely the same. Yet, in a different time region, the gathering rapidly heads inside the transport, which is currently wrapped with security fencing, and starts searching for food. They track down a container of moment noodles, yet at this point, the driver Tony has become unfriendly and eager. He tracks down a firearm in one of the seats and compromises the others to hand by and large the food things, dreading for their lives. The gathering hesitantly consents, since time is moving at a fast rate. Every one of them feel hungry immediately, and this is gradually transforming the gathering into creatures. Sooner or later the model, Sarah, can't bear the craving any longer. So she goes to Tony with an arrangement in return for a parcel of moment noodles. She is thinking to sell her body. Tony quickly concurs. Furthermore, that to make enthusiastic love while they're grinding away. Wang sneaks inside the transport and grabs a bundle for himself. Wang's a virtuoso, be that as it may. Tony finds out about this and starts whipping him into a bloody mess. Lang's not a virtuoso, but rather before he can complete the protection fellow off, somebody wounds him from behind. Soon, the remainder of the gathering shows up at the scene and is stunned to observe the homicide. Regardless of this, Wang is indifferent, and he begins looking for a bundle of food that he dropped before. At the point when he hunkers underneath the transport, he finds a manhole. The gathering quickly pushes the transport and enters the man opening, through which they arrive at another strange room. This one additionally has a few unusual pictures and disfigured human parts in it. In addition, the network shows the lady from prior leisurely being suffocated. Inside the cavern, ignoring this, the gathering looks for a leave course, and again tracks down a similar schedule there on eliminating it. Another mysterious entryway is uncovered soon. Everybody goes through and they in the long run arrive at the third passage, yet shockingly, this passage is wet and hazier than previously. The transport is likewise present there, however it has been overwhelmed by rodents and snakes frantic for food. Wang eat a few spoiled noodles, which he laments quickly seeing him in this condition. Jing feels sorry for him and hands him a biscuit, yet Wang turns out to be progressively forceful and requests the whole parcel when she declines. He shockingly brings out a gun and takes everybody's food at gunpoint. However, even after this, his rule of dread proceeds. He finds that they set aside a secret entry each opportunity. One of them kicks the bucket. For example, they found a wall when Lee was stole and the saw vent when Tony was wounded. Subsequently, he takes steps to shoot one of the remaining survivors to guarantee that he gets away from the spot. Xian attempts to quiet him down, yet Wang doesn't tune in. All things considered, he powers the guiltless Jiang to shoot Xian in the shoulder. After this, the lunatic takes the twins to the close-by room and fires, thrashing them. At the point when Tooth attempts to save her sibling, Wang mercilessly kills her by terminating at her on numerous occasions. The poor mentally unbalanced Kid Park can simply wail as his sister gradually dies. The crazy Wang then endeavors to choke Sarah. In any case, before he can do so, somebody skewers him from rear. Presently, with 2 extra individuals dead, the gathering find a mysterious entry through which they arrive at the 4th passage, which is a hallucinogenic passage. All of a sudden Jing starts giving birth and lays as an afterthought with Park, while a harmed Shan and Sarah had to investigate the boss. The hallucinogenic idea of the spot causes Sarah to fantasize, and she begins seeing individuals terrified. She emerges from the transport and heads the other way where a few dead bodies are lying around there. She sees a mirror, and as she gazes into it, somebody moves toward her from behind and polishes her off. In the interim, Xian gets back to Jiang, who has brought forth a child kid. The remaining 3 then, at that point, continue forward. However, en route it is uncovered that the young man has died. Chan attempts to persuade Jing to continue onward, yet all of a sudden she takes out a knife and wounds him to death. Shockingly, sooner or later he awakens in a mystery compound. Maybe he has awakened from some kind of examination. Then, at that point, we are taken to a secret military gathering. This is where everything, at long last, unfurls. A military general uncovers that the chronic executioner from the start of the film, James, has been gotten. The problem is that he was caught from a car wreck in a totally vegetative state. Furthermore, presently he has fallen into a state of extreme lethargy. James had hijacked and killed a few ladies. However, one specific named Sierra is reputed to in any case be alive. The issue is that nobody knows where she is secured, aside from the chronic executioner himself, and since he's in a coma, examining him is unthinkable. Consequently, the military has chosen to team up with the best Cerebrum Exploration Foundation in the country. They will likely lead the memory bonding with James to take advantage of his inner mind and in the end sort out about the people in question. Whereabouts yesterday, an exceptional psychotherapist of the organization at last broke into James' cognizance and tracked down specific hints. The psychotherapist is uncovered to be, as a matter of fact, Chen, one of the armed force. Officers then, at that point, affirms that they need to have confidence in 11 and on the grounds that he most importantly. Others is more worried about the casualty's security. It just so happens, the casualty Kira is, as a matter of fact, Qian's significant other. This is where every one of the occasions start to appear to be legit as all that we saw before. Spied inside to James is subliminal quality. Notwithstanding, Qian's work is a long way from being done in the previous trial. He figured out how to track down a fundamental sign from a calendar on the wall that his better half is detained close to Shong Waterway. In any case, the circumstance is basic in view of the weighty storm in the following 36 hours. All caverns on one or the other banks of the stream will be totally overwhelmed by the rising waterway, subsequently, seriously jeopardizing Sierra's life as a result. Yet again she had requirements to take advantage of James' subliminal tomorrow, so he can track down additional signs about Sierra's accurate station that evening. As Diana sitting without anyone else, the military general methodologies him to get some information about the advancement. She and afterward begins sharing his experience inside James's cognizance and recollects that the date July 15, 1996 frequently showed up on schedules. The boss makes sense of that. It's the date where the chronic executioner's guardians both kicked the bucket during that pivotal day. His dad figured out that his mom took part in an extramarital entanglements with a driver. This came about in a big contention between the two, which finished with his mom cutting his dad. Prior to committing the unbelievable himself, Jan has shocked by the yet he keeps sharing his experience. He expresses that in James' inward world, he had the option to see the two, his clouded side and his great side. However, eventually, the great side fizzled. The chronic executioner himself was really a tunnel engineer. Consequently, when he went into extreme lethargies, he started to lay out a passage in his mind as the representative transporter of his tumultuous cognizance. The passage. Furthermore, his cognizance is only a dead circle which prompts no place. When she entered James' his mind, his underlying objective was to lead him out of this interminable circle so James could awaken from his unconsciousness. Notwithstanding, he didn't anticipate that there should be such countless divided characters. Along these lines, Chan needed to speak with all of them so he could track down hints about his significant other's detainment. His new mission was to track down the genuine criminal among these characters and question that person for the response. As he reinforced with these characters, he figured out additional about them. The best one was Lee, who looks like James' solid and objective side. There was trust that this great character could offset the others and get James out of this circle. Tragically, he unexpectedly vanished after the lights went out in the passage. The vanishing of this character brought about the turmoil of the circumstance. The subsequent character was the driver Tony, who in the end became vicious. This looks like James' savage character. The third and fourth characters were making an appearance, Sarah, who look like James, inward projection of his own mom. What's more, father, his dad was a protection sales rep while his mother was a model. Unfortunately, when the dad was harmful to James, his mom couldn't have cared less about him. And on second thought wound up having an unsanctioned romance with their driver. This was addressed when Sarah made out with the driver Tony, only for food. The fifth was the pregnant woman Jing. Looking like his optimal picture of a murderer, despite the fact that it is a decent character, it didn't exactly smother his clouded side. So it additionally implied its destruction. The sixth and seventh characters were the twins, who look like his young life character, mentally unbalanced, unusual women's activists, however exceptionally skilled in math and space physical science. However, there is another character that was not on the transport. It is the fiercest character and consistently concealed in the dark. This is the character that covertly killed Lee, the driver, Tony and Wang. Be that as it may, to figure out more, she needs another examination. The following day comes and she goes through the second period of the memory bonding. This time he straightforwardly stands up to James and requests his better half's whereabouts. Anyway, the unfeeling executioner would rather not surrender the data so rapidly, all things considered. He begins discussing how he despises his mom for killing his father. This instability towards ladies is the reason he snatches them and polishes them off, saying this much. He takes Chan to various pieces of his subliminal where different occasions office life are being worked out, in any case, zeroing in on his main goal. Furthermore, she and his respects every one of them and faces the medically introverted character Park, the most vulnerable of James' characters. He has a go at controlling the kid to surrender the directions to his significant other's area, yet his twin sister phone stops him following. Their GN has moved to Asanima Corridor, where he experiences the genuine underhanded behind every one of the homicides inside the passage. It is uncovered to be, as a matter of fact, Shehead himself. Incidentally, James's subliminal is so screwed up and insidious that the person who investigates it additionally begins taking on a similar mindset as a chronic executioner. The detestable Chen uncovers that he believed Kira should be saved. So he killed individuals inside the passage, individually, including the infant. Abruptly, the terrified, mentally unbalanced kid Park shows up in front of an audience, thus does Chen's better half. Park gradually moves toward Kira to kill her. However, at the last second, he pulls out, taking this as the ideal open door. The genuine Cheon approaches the terrified kid, and solicitation him to awaken and inform the specialists concerning his significant other's area. Shockingly, Park concurs and leaves. Then the detestable Kai and takes him to an alternate setting with ATO. Prepare for one last standoff soon, that to begin battling with each other. However, when the genuine Seon feels like he's triumphant, one more clone of insidious possibility appears, inferring that he's indestructible somewhere else. The downpour has begun pouring in and Kira is nearly neck somewhere down in the water. It is just a brief time before she suffocates to death back inside. James' subliminal quality, the genuine Seon, argues to let him back into his reality, yet his malevolence doppelganger will not tune in. All at once the genuine Seon concocts an arrangement. That's what he understands, assuming he commits the unfathomable. The malicious Chien will likewise kick the bucket. Furthermore, with this, all of the malicious inside James will disappear. What's more, when he proceeds with his arrangement, the detestable Chen disappears. Furthermore, at the emergency clinic, James awakens being a completely different man. He quickly enlightens the specialists concerning Sierra's area along these lines. Sierra is saved in the last possible second, however Chien doesn't awaken. The movie closes as he meanders around the unending passage, demonstrating that he won't ever get back. Buy in for additional recordings like this, turn on notices and leave the same, like Ato help the feed out. Thank you for watching. PLZ, don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel.